This episode of The Matt Feret Show is brought to you by the Brickhouse Agency. Brickhouse is a boutique independent health insurance agency that focuses on finding the right Medicare coverage for folks across the country. Matt's wife, Nikki, is the heart behind Brickhouse. She's great at making confusing things clear and is passionate about helping people find a Medicare insurance policy that suits their individual needs. To schedule a free one-on-one appointment with Nikki or a member of her team, head on over to brickhouseagency.com or simply call 844-844-6565 and someone will help you schedule a phone call or a Zoom meeting. The consultation is free because the insurance companies pay Brickhouse, not you. There's never any pressure or obligation to enroll. Your clearer, simpler Medicare journey is just a call or click away. BrickhouseAgency.com. Not affiliated with or endorsed by the government or federal Medicare program. Contacting Brickhouse Agency, LLC will direct you to a licensed insurance agent.
Hello everyone, this is Matt Feret, author of Prepare for Medicare and Prepare for Social Security Insiders Guidebooks and online course training series. Welcome to another episode of The Matt Feret Show, where I interview insiders and experts to help light a path to successful living in midlife, retirement, and beyond. Seth, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Excited to be here.
Tell everybody what you do, how long you've been doing it, and how you help people.
So I'm a divorce lawyer, so right away people are like, he does not help people. Right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, at certain times in life, for some people, I'm sure you're very helpful.
Yeah, so I'm a divorce lawyer. I've been doing it for over 16 years. I've been practicing law for over 20 years. And I'm also host of a podcast myself called How to Split a Toaster, a divorce podcast about saving your relationships.
Thank you for that. So 16 years then, you've probably seen it all. You're based, we were talking off camera, you're based in Florida.
Yeah,
always
in Tampa,
been there?
Florida. Yeah. Well, grew up here and kind of meandered my way into the law eventually. But when I started practicing law in the law firm scenario, I've been in Tampa my entire law firm career.
So this show is geared towards, let's say, middle age, kind of older adults, retired, near retirement, older than retirement, and sometimes and beyond. So let's pick an age, whatever middle age and older adults means to you. Let's pick one in our brains and go with it. What are the trends you're seeing around divorce, and let's call it age 50, 45, 55. Let's just call it divorces that people have been together for a very long time. What are you seeing out there right now?
Actually, the highest rate of divorce in age groups now is 50 and older. And as been on your show before, it's called gray divorce. And that is a specific segment of our population that are getting divorced at a much older age. And it brings with different issues than when you're getting divorced at 35 or 40 or 45, when you got kids still in school or young kids and you have to deal with a parenting plan. It's all financial when it comes to gray divorce, because you usually don't have any kids left that are minor children.
From your perspective, why is this happening, gray divorce?
There's a lot of trends in our society that I think add to this. One is that historically, marriage was done for business reasons, right? Back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, 50s, sometimes even 60s, women went to college to meet somebody to marry. Now women go to college to get a career. Right?
Yeah, that was called getting your MRS degree, right? I think
that's
back
right.
in the day. I think I heard my mom say that jokingly.
Right. But there's a little truth to every joke. So that doesn't happen anymore. And so women are more financially independent than they ever been in the history of the United States. With that comes the ability to live on your own and not need a man to support you. And when you hit retirement age, even if you got your MRS degree and you're getting divorced now, hopefully, if they've done proper financial planning, they're living off their retirement. So if you get divorced and you're going to split that retirement, your standard of living might go down a little bit because you're going to have two households instead of one with the same amount of income, but you get to go live your life. And you're like, this relationship hasn't been a healthy, loving, caring, supportive relationship in a long time. And I only have so many years left of my life and I want to live it in a different way.
So I hear that can be one factor, and I agree with you. And I know that, I mean, right, more education, more job opportunities, the percentage of women in the workforce, all-time highs, the percentage of women now attaining four-year degrees more or higher than men. That's not a super recent phenomenon. But so one of the pieces you said there is, where you get two separate incomes makes it easier to leave. But let's say if you are getting divorced in your, let's say 50, right? 50 plus gray divorce. Why that specific age? Because if they've been, if everybody's been working, let's say full time or part time and going back to work, is it something about, as you mentioned, the age of, look, I might have 20, 30 years left here. Do I want to be with this person? Or does something happen? Does somebody step out? Do the kids leave? Like, are there triggers?
Bingo, right
Okay.
there. The main thing that happens in divorce is usually there's some sort of life event. So, one, we've all heard it. I stayed with them for the kids, right? Or I could not bear the thought of not seeing my children every day until they reach college age or beyond. So I stayed in this marriage because I want to see my kids every day. But now they've graduated high school, they're off in college or graduating college. And therefore, that reason is no longer there. You're not seeing them every day anyway. They're off at college. You're lucky to get a text once a week. So
Exactly.
you've lived it. You're living it. I'm living it.
Yeah, I am.
So, so with that, it's like now it's time for me. And you've seen these dating apps that will say, it's my time, right? And that's for people that are 50 and over. But that same concept flows through in divorce.
In your experience, do you see couples breaking up, divorcing into something? In other words, do they already have a relationship that may have been a friendship? Are they leaving the current marriage for something, or they're literally leaving the marriage to be single?
It's a great question. I see both. The first one you ask, you're leaving because you're into something else. I call that the Facebook divorce. Oh my God, I connected with my high school sweetheart, on Facebook, and I stepped outside of my marriage. Now, I always think that is a symptom of a poor marital relationship, right? If you're in a great marital relationship, that typically doesn't happen. Something else is going on. But a lot of it is just, I'm done. I'm done with the financial infidelity and not being responsible with money. I'm done being treated this way. I'm done not being able to go out with my girlfriends and not, be like punished for it. So that is more what I see. Typically, when men and women get divorced, men will remarry quicker than women. And I always joke like we just need somebody, and the women are like, I'm good by myself. I got my friends. We're good, right? The Golden Girls show, that would be an example. All these women together supporting each other. Men just typically don't do as much as that.
If you've, how do I ask this question? Back up before the actual divorce happens in a gray zone. Do you see couples coming to you? It's kind of a 3-month, 6-month look. Somebody's light switch went off, and this is what we're doing. Or have you seen people really try to work through years of marriage counseling and reading books and trying to change, and it's just not working? Is it more immediate that people are, like you said, they've
not at
been
all
tolerating the other, but
it's not immediate at all. The average time from the first moment someone thinks in their brain, even doesn't say it out loud, I might want a divorce or I'm done with this. And the word divorce is in their mind from that moment to the time they talk to a lawyer is usually 3 years.
Wow.
So I don't think people come into this lightly. It's not like a light bulb went off and you're like, I'm out, right?
Right.
And this is even true on cases with domestic violence, on cases with infidelity, on cases where maybe your spouse has mental illness or addiction issues, because it just takes time to process all of that. And unfortunately, with domestic violence, there's the victim syndrome where there's the cycle, and to break out of that is extremely difficult. So it's not like someone just turns on a switch and wakes up one day and says, I'm out.
Even though it might feel that way to the other partner.
It will absolutely feel that way to the other partner because they don't see it coming. Oh, I knew we were having troubles. It wasn't right. But, everyone has their troubles. We'll get through it. Well, you're not getting through it unless you're going to do something about it, right?
Yeah.
If you got that ache in your shoulder or your knee hurts and you're not going to do anything about it, it's just going to get worse. But that also goes to the main reason in divorce in general, in my opinion, and I've seen thousands of them, is, and it's going to sound cliche, communication. Where was the breakdown? And some people said it was like 20 years ago. And we've just been living as partners, not as a married couple.
Oof. Do you hear people and see people like reliving their past? Again, you said there's a kids are out of high school or kids are out of college or trade school or whatever it is. Do you see that a lot of reasons that one of the partners is going back to things that happened 10 years ago that got buried or 15 years ago? Is that common, or is it
happens? Yeah, I call that a Tuesday. That happens all the time. Matt, I mean, we're talking human nature and human psychology, and they've just had enough. Now, I very rarely will ask a client or a potential client, why are you getting divorced? It's not relevant in the legal analysis. And here's the thing. If there's one takeaway for the listeners to take away today, it's if you're going to go through a divorce, you're going through two divorces. There's the legal divorce, which is a legal system set up by the states with judges and lawyers and clerk of the courts or whole judicial system. And then there's the emotional divorce. Now, the emotional divorce, for whoever's filing or calling the lawyer first, that has started years ago. But that emotional divorce will not end until at least the legal divorce process has ended. You cannot get over or through your emotional divorce till your legal divorce is over. And once it's over, it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years. How much hard work are you going to do on yourself? Are you going to seek mental health counseling? Are you going to say, where did I go wrong? Why did I let myself be treated this way? What about me do I need to work on? But that's on you. No one's slowing you down on that other than you. The legal divorce can take a long time because as a lawyer, I can only go as fast as the slowest person or entity. And here in Hillsborough County, these judges have hundreds and hundreds of cases. So if I'm ready to go to trial today on a 2-day trial, that judge's calendar might not be available for 4 months.
Wow. Well, let's talk about the interim, and that interim is separation. And as I understand it, there are two types of separation, right? There's a kind of in the home trial separation, sometimes outside of the home trial separation, and then there's legal separation. Do you see couples over the age of 50 or in the gray divorce arena doing that, either inside their own home in a different bedroom, or somebody moves out and says, okay, we're going to do this for 6 months, then reevaluate, or do they, what's it like? What's the difference between kind of that side of couple that's been married 20, 25 years versus a couple that's been married 3 or 5?
Yeah. So gray divorce, you see that more where they'll just like go to a separate bedroom. In Florida, there is no legal separation. And a misconception, I don't know where it is on the internet, but people find it and it's wrong, is if I leave the house, do I give up rights to the house? And the answer to that in Florida is absolutely not. No. So check your local jurisdiction, whatever state you're in. meet with a lawyer who's licensed in your state that focuses on family law to get these legal specific questions answered. But practically, yes, I see people sleeping in separate bedrooms. And sometimes they're like, we've been sleeping in separate bedrooms for years. Like, this is nothing new.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes that word sleep divorce doesn't actually mean divorce. It just means I get better sleep, my partner snores, and this is what we decide to do. It's completely, well, mostly, I guess, innocuous.
Right. Actually, on How to Split a Toaster, we affectionately call it the toaster. We just had someone on to talk about what we call sleep divorce, where someone snores so loudly that it causes other problems in the relationship that ultimately lead to divorce. And it was actually from a guy that created this mouth tape that is being used now, where you cover your mouth with this like athletic tape.
Yeah.
And it makes you breathe through your nose and it makes you sleep better. And actually, professional athletes are using this. So it's like no joke. This is like a real thing. It
They
sounds
tape
ridiculous.
your mouth shut?
Yeah, it's called hostage tape. You should check it out.
Oh, that could even be that might be multi-use if you're going through a divorce.
Yeah, let me tell you, my wife wants me to use it not during at night. Okay.
Self-censor yourself. I'm going to say this. Hold on one second. Reach in your pocket.
Exactly.
Put the tape over your
But
mouth.
no, this happens all the time. But the other thing that happens and why sometimes someone will stay in the marriage is the reverse of what I said at the beginning, is because they're worried about the finances, or they don't know the finances. So unlike, if you're in your 30s, you've been married for 5 years, you got some kids, you might not leave the house till you know what the parenting plan is. In a gray divorce, if you don't know what the money is, or you don't even know what your income is to fill out an application for a rental, right? A new apartment or rent a house, well, then you kind of got to get into the substance, right? How are we going to divide the assets? In Florida, that's called equitable distribution, the division of assets and debts. Other states will call it other things. Of course, we all know alimony. A payment from one spouse to the other during the pendency of the case is temporary alimony, or after the case is over, it's called alimony. Some states still have permanent alimony. It could go on till you die, or till she dies, or till someone remarries, if the recipient remarries. Some states cut it off at a certain age. Some have a formula for how long you've been married. If you're married for more than 20 years in Florida, you can get up to 75% of the marriage. So all these states do it differently. But finding out this information and finding out how much money you have and how much money you need to live is, one, just good financial planning. But you certainly need to know that if you're going through a divorce.
So let's get into that money piece a little bit, because those are I think those are big questions for both sides, or either couple. Let's take it in two scenarios, if you don't mind. First scenario is if both partners are working, and obviously no one's going to earn the exact same amount of money, right? So let's pick a scenario where the female. Well, I'm going to use a heterosexual couple here, just for example. Female's a lawyer, earns 6 figures. Male is, I don't know, in business and also earns 6 figures, but female earns 50% more. So they're both earners. They both have degrees, and they're both working full-time, making good incomes. They've been married 20 years. What does that look like? And I know dependent upon state, but what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to take it in Florida. I'm going to do some quick math with you. We have husband making $100,000 a year. You said 6 figures. Wife making $200,000 a year. So with alimony, the questions are this: how much am I going to have to pay potentially? What is my potential alimony financial, exposure here? And for how long? So how much, how long? Let's start with the how long. In Florida, as of July 1st, 2023, the statute just changed. 20-year marriage, you can multiply that by 0.75, 75% of the marriage. The most length in time would be 15 years. That's the maximum. There's always exceptions to the rule, but generally 15 years. So if you have someone who's 55, in this case, the wife, let's say, making $200,000 a year, and let's say the husband is 57, the wife could have to pay at max until she's 70. Now, everyone's going to be like, seriously? Doesn't she get to retire at the normal retirement age? In Florida, the answer to that question is yes. You get to retire, and there's a runway that you get to land on and say, Judge, I'm going to retire soon. My income is going to drop. I shouldn't have to pay what I'm paying now. But if you still have plenty of money and the other side still needs it, and we'll get to that in a minute, you still might have to pay up until 70. And the normal retirement age is now, for that probably age group, is about 67 and a half. You might not want to go back to court and pay the legal fees over 3 more years. The legal fees might eat up that payment anyway. But how much, how long? Now let's get to how much. Let's say 200,000. Let's just put them at a 30% tax bracket. So when you do 30% times, they're taking home $140,000 a year. Let's just say that the husband takes home $80,000 a year because he's in a little lower bracket. So if you take 140,000, and I know I'm doing a lot of math here, right? Divide it by 12. She's bringing home roughly $11,500. I'm rounding.
Yep.
He's bringing home $80,000. Divide that by 12 for the month. He's bringing home roughly $6,500. So she's bringing home $11,500 a month. He's bringing home $6,500 in Florida. You subtract those two numbers, the difference is $5,000.
Right.
The maximum that he can get is 35% of that difference. So her worst day in court on these facts, $1,750 a month for 15 years. Now, that doesn't sound bad unless you're paying it. Right? I just said you're making 200 G's. You only have to pay 1,750 for 15 years. And you're like, oh, that's all right. Okay, Seth did that quick. That's easy. Yeah, you're not writing the check. Right.
Yeah, and it's $250,000 over 15 years.
Exactly. So that's the max. In Florida, it's the lesser of all that math I just did, or what is the husband's need and what is the wife's ability to pay. If they're saddled with debt, when they do the division of assets and debts, and she's living paycheck to paycheck because they have loans against their 401k, they've taken out college loans premarital, even during the marriage, because she went to law school and she's still paying off her law school loans. If they bought these fancy cars that are running them $1,200-1,500 a month, right? They're just overextended. He might have a need, but she might not have the ability to pay. So in all of my cases, I tell my clients, I hope this is a no alimony case. And in this case, if the husband's like, why? And he's told me the fact scenario you've told me, I said, let's look at your assets. Because if we're going to divide up, assets, and you're going to have $1 million liquid